Hello parents and children. I am Miss Maria from Main Street Arts, and I'm the art instructor for the Art Saturdays program here. And thank you for joining me today. I'm going to show you some drawing techniques and some tips, some very fun and simple ways to make art at home with very simple materials. We're going to use paper, so you can use any paper you have lying around. It could be computer paper, construction paper, notebook paper, anything. And a pencil and an eraser to fix mistakes. And I'm using a black Sharpie just because it's nice and black and dark, but you could use any marker that you have at home. And I also have some crayons to add some color. So yesterday was National Poultry Day, and poultry is chicken, so we're going to be talking about how to draw a chicken, which I love chickens. Chickens are really fun to draw, so I'm going to show you some tips about how you can draw a chicken. So one thing that artists do is they learn to break objects down into simple shapes like circles and ovals. And so that is what I'm going to show you how to do, is break a chicken down into simple shapes. But first I want to show you a little tip about your drawing with your pencil. So I'm going to be using light lines instead of really dark lines, because as you can see, it's easy to erase a light line, but it's not so easy to erase a dark line. So I'm going to start with the head, which is a simple circle shape. So I'm going to use my light line and just draw a circle for the head. And the body will be more of an oval. So it'll come down kind of like that. And the tail will be more of a triangle that comes out to the bottom. And I'm just drawing nice and light. I'm going to add more detail later. And of course it has two legs. Chickens have feathers that come down. I call them pantaloons, but they're like little bumps that come down like this. That's where their legs come out, and they're kind of feathery spots where their legs come out. And chickens have 3 toes and then 1 back toe. So they've got 1, 2, 3 toes and then a little back toe. So they've got 1, 2, 3, and then a little back toe. And of course they have a beak, which is just a simple triangle. And you can draw another triangle on the bottom too. And then of course an eye, which is just a little oval, and then a little pupil in the center. Chickens have a comb on top of their head. That's the red part on top of their head. Hens have them, and roosters. Roosters are bigger, hens are smaller, and it's just a squiggly line, just like that. And then they have a wattle on the bottom, and that's just like a half circle that kind of connects the beak and the head. And then of course they have a wing. So in the middle I like to draw kind of like an almond shape, like that. So there's my basic chicken body. Now since I drew light, I can erase anything that I don't like. And I'm going to go back and add detail. I'm going to add some kind of a curvy line back here because chicken tail feathers are very fluffy in the back. So I'm going to kind of go like this. And I'm going to go and erase the lines that I drew earlier that I don't really want anymore. And then one thing a chicken also has is a little nostril on their beak. So I'm just going to draw a little line like that. Another thing that a chicken has is it kind of comes down from their head, and it's kind of like a zigzag line that goes like this. And it's kind of like, this is always a slightly different color than the rest of their body. And I can also draw lines on the wings to make them look like they have some feathers. And I could make the legs thicker. I could go down and make the legs thicker and the toes a little thicker. And then I can erase any lines that I don't like here, of course, because I've been drawing light. Another thing I can do is add some texture. So there's really fun ways to add texture without making it look really realistic, but still fun. So here are some ways that I could add a feather texture. I can just do some half circles. So I could kind of, and I'm going around the wing here. Another thing you could do is kind of just some lines like this, squiggly lines. That's kind of a fun texture. Or you can just do some lines like this, and that's what artists do sometimes, is they repeat lines and shapes to make fun textures. And you can fill, and then I could add some lines on the tail. One thing I like to do when I'm done with a drawing is go over it with a marker. I'm choosing a Sharpie because I have one, but if you have a regular marker, washable marker, or you could even use a dark crayon, it's just gonna kind of give your lines a nice vibrant look, and it's going to make your drawing really stand out from the paper. So I'm just going to go along the lines really carefully, and I'm going to just trace my lines. Some lines I might choose to keep out because I don't really like them. I think I'm going to take this line out. So I'm going to ignore it, and then when I'm done I will erase it. I also think I'm going to ignore this line back here. I'm just going to go ahead and continue with my tail. Okay. So now that I have my lines all nice and dark, I'm going to go with my eraser and erase any lines that I chose not to make dark. And since I drew nice and light, they're coming off pretty easy. I'm going to get rid of this line too. I don't need to get rid of every single line, but some of the big lines I'm going to get rid of. I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to choose crayons. And one thing I like to do, I love color, and I love to mix different colors, even with crayons. So I'm going to show you how to blend colors of crayons, and I'll do it on this head here. So I'm going to start, I have some browns and some oranges and yellow kind of colors here, which is typical for a chicken, I'd say. So, but it could be, your chicken could be any color, really, you want it to. I'm going to start with my darker color, and just like we talked about with the lines earlier, you can draw really dark with your crayon, and you can draw really light with your crayon. And that's the great thing about crayons, is they're two totally different looks there. So I'm going to start coloring a little bit dark at the top of my head. I'm pushing down, and then as I go down, I'm going to lighten up. My color is getting lighter. I'm lightening up my hand as I go down. So see how it's really nice and light? You could hardly see it at all. And then I'm going to take another color. I'm going to choose orange. And I'm going to go in there and kind of go over top of some of the brown, kind of light, to start to see what I need to do here. I'm going to start light. And as you can see, the brown and the orange are blending together, and it's okay to color two crayon colors over top of each other. It makes a whole new color. And I'm going to bring that orange down a little bit. And I'm getting lighter and lighter as I go down, till you could hardly see it at all. And then I'm going to choose my yellow as my last color, and I'm going to go and finish up. I'm going to overlap the yellow and the orange a little bit. So as you can see, that's a really cool way to mix. I used three colors, these three colors, and I started dark, got a little lighter, and I mixed the colors in between. And you have a really cool look there with crayons. I'm going to show you how to, this is the comb. I'll show you, I picked four different, there's a magenta, a red, and like a red-orange color. And I love layering colors, and you could layer crayons just as easy as you could layer paint or anything else. So I'll do a splotch of red over here, and a splotch of red over here. And I'll take my other shade, and I'm going to mix them a little bit and have them be on their own a little bit too. So that takes it from being just a plain red comb to being something that's really quite colorful. So for the body, you can do whatever you want. You can have it be a solid color. You can do the same kind of blending technique that we did for the head. I think what I'm going to do is do the same technique that I did for the head on the wing. And then I might do the body a solid color. So now that I'm done coloring, I'm going to just have it be standing somewhere. Right now it's not really standing anywhere. And I'm going to draw the ground line. So I'm going to start over here, and it's going to kind of just be a line like this. And I'm going to go behind the chicken. I'm going to follow my line, and then it's going to come right here, and I'm going to finish that line off. So now it at least looks like it's standing somewhere. And sometimes what I like to do is maybe give it a couple grains of food, and maybe we could give it a little bowl of water. So I'm going to do a little kind of a long oval, and then it's going to come down. And now you can let your imagination go. You can draw anything else you want. You could draw some chicks. Maybe it's a new mother and it's got some chicks. Maybe there's a little cluster of eggs over here in a nest. All right, so this is my finished piece. As you can see, I filled the sky in, but I didn't color it entirely blue. I kind of did some little splotches here and there of blue, because sometimes coloring in an entire sky really makes your hand tired, and you don't always have to color it in solid. So that's one thing you can do, is just do little splotches of blue, and it almost looks like a cloudy sky, and it works. I also, for my son, I had these test spots where I tested the crayon earlier, and instead of kind of thinking it was a mistake, I used it and I made it the middle of my son. So that's what artists do too, is they use their mistakes or things that they didn't mean to happen, and they make it into something good. So this is my chicken, and I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old at home, and they love making art too, and they love chickens. So this is my 6-year-old, this is my daughter's chicken drawing. So as you can see, she pretty much did what I did, but she added her own very special touches. I think there's a little baby chick on the back here, and I think there's a nest down here with a bunch of eggs. So that's one thing you can do. And then also, my 3-year-old tries to draw chickens, but she loves it when I draw her things. So I drew her this chicken, and then she colored it in, and she loved that. So parents, you are more than welcome to do these drawing exercises too. And if you have younger children, they can color them in, or you can color them in. So it could be a really fun time. And if you have any chicken drawings that you want to share, you can take a picture of them and add them to our comments, or you can email them to us and we will share them. We'd love to see what kind of chickens you drew and colored for National Poultry Day. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure showing you some art, and I hope to see you next Friday. Next Friday is National Weed Appreciation Day, so we're going to look at common weeds that you see outside every day and go over, but we're going to look at them and really look at the shapes that they're made up of and learn how to draw them. So thank you.